Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. This video I will be doing a tier list on the rivals from the Pokemon games. Now, before we get into the placements, I just wanted to let you all know that I am starting a brand new randomized Nuzlocke on the channel. Which game will I be playing through? Well, find out tomorrow. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this tier list. So starting off today with Blue. Blue was the original rival from Red, Blue, Green, Yellow, Fire Red, Leaf. He's been in a lot. He's probably the most used rival out of anyone on this list today. And for me, Blue just goes straight into the S tier. Blue himself, the original starter, I absolutely loved his cocky attitude. The fact that he was always one step ahead of you. You know, he became the champion, and then you beat him and immediately take it from him. But for me, Blue sits strongly in the S tier, one of the best rivals to have ever graced the Pokemon series. Up next is one of the newcomers on this list from the Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee games. And I actually forgot his name until I started doing this tier list, but that is this guy right here, Trace. Now, for me, honestly, Trace, he's got to go in the F tier. I'm not a big fan of Trace. You know, the Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee games, they were fun. They just had a bit of a different vibe where the rival himself didn't feel like he contributed too much to anything. So for me, you know, Trace he sits in that F tier there. Up next is Generation 2. And in Generation 2, we have Silver. Now, for me, Silver goes directly into the S tier as well. This is when Pokemon had rivals that, you know, were actually there to, well, not hurt you, but they were there to, you know, push your buttons a little bit. You know, you had Blue with the Smell Ya Later. Silver was just a straight-up criminal, steals his first Pokemon right out of Professor Birch's lab, and was just completely rude to you until the end of the game when you finally beat him in Victory Road. But yeah, Silver, for me, goes into the S tier. Generation 3. Now, this is whenever... Generation 3. Now, this is where the games started having a couple different rivals for you. So starting off with Brendan and May, because as you choose one character, the other one tends to be a rival. But I think they are both really solid rivals. And both of them are going to sit in the A tier. Now, both of them being the kid of Professor Birch, depending on the character that you choose, they were always destined for greatness. They always had some strong Pokemon on their team. I remember when I first played through these games, they gave me a bit of an issue every time I battled them, and they would always pop up in random spots. So for that, you know, I thought they were pretty good rivals, and they're gonna go in the A tier. And that brings us to the next rival of Generation 3, and that's Wally. And for me, Wally goes in the C tier. And here's the reason why. I love Wally as a character, but I always felt bad for him. You know, his only ticket to getting out of the house was to become a Pokemon trainer. And every time he, you know, wanted to continue being a Pokemon trainer, we were in his way. And eventually he had to stop and go back with his parents. And I always just felt bad for him. You know, he's precious. I want to protect him, not beat him, but we have to beat him to beat the games. So that's why he sits in the C tier as a rival. That brings us to Generation 4. And as I've said multiple times on my channel here, Generation 4 is probably my favorite game. However, Barry is not one of my favorite rivals. No, Barry I found to be incredibly annoying. Always using the same joke of he's got to go fast and he's going to find us like $1 million Poké-Dollars. Barry sits in the C tier, not for the same reasons as Wally. He deserves the C tier. Okay, up next is Generation 5, and this is generation I'm not, familiar with compared to all of the other ones. But I have played through Black and White. So for me, Charon sits in the A tier. I really like Charon. Or I'm sorry, no. He sits in the B tier. And he's not quite up there. He's a really good trainer. Eventually becomes, I believe, a gym leader in Black and White 2. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't actually played through Black and White 2. But he was always serious about wanting to battle. Where Bianca, not so much. She just wanted to go on an adventure. And really didn't put up too much of a fight. And because of that, Bianca is our first D tier character. It was very hit or miss when it came to the Gen 5 rivals, that's for sure. However, N, which is considered a rival, I looked it up, N was probably one of my favorite rivals. Not quite S tier, but definitely a strong A tier. The reason being is he's an enigma. There's so much mystery around him. One of the prevailing Pokemon fan theories is that N is actually a Zoroark, disguised as a human. And there's just, where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did N come from? No one knows. Hugh is up next, and I actually didn't know the name of this character either. Again, I haven't played through Black and White 2, which he is the main rival in. And because I don't know too much about it, I'm not going to put him in the F tier, but he is going to sit in the D tier. I just don't know too much about him. Maybe I'll play through Black and White 2 sometime in the future on my channel. But for now, Hugh goes in the D tier, and will most likely change once I get around to playing those games, even though they've been out for close to 10 years. Now, Generation 6 is up next, and I don't know what they were thinking with Generation 6. Again, I love those games. They're up there as some of my favorites because they got me back into Pokemon. But there was like 5 or 6 different rivals. There was way too many. So, starting off with the male rival, Callum. For me, I never actually had Callum as a rival because in the X and Y games, well, for the most part, I played as the male. So for me, Callum just sits in the C tier. Nothing good, nothing bad. Serena, on the other hand, does sit in the B tier, though. I always thought she was one of the more solid rivals in these X and Y games, and really put up more of a fight than everyone else. We're gonna go with Trevor next, and actually Tierno. Is that how his name is pronounced? Tierno? I don't know. Anyway, these were my least 2 favorite rivals from X and Y, and they're both gonna sit in the F tier. There was just something about them. I didn't like them. They got on my nerves. They popped up at like the weirdest times, always together. Yeah, they go in the F tier. I don't like them. I don't like them. Shauna, on the other hand, I really like Shauna's character. I thought her character development was really good. If I remember correctly, she went from like, kind of a crybaby to a more battle-hardened Pokemon. It's been years since I've played through X and Y. I could be completely wrong, but I do remember liking Shauna a lot more than both Trevor and the other T-named rival. Anyway, up next is the Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon rivals. First up on the list is How. And, How actually sits in the C tier for similar reasons to Wally. He was pretty serious about wanting to become a Pokemon trainer. However, he could just never best us. He was never one step ahead. He was always one step behind, just like Wally. Yeah, he just sits in the C tier. Same reasons as Wally. Gladion, on the other hand, I really like Gladion as a character. Because at first, he starts off as a villain, and then as the game progresses, his character develops. And you realize he's really just trying to protect his sister and his Pokemon. And for that, Gladion goes in the B tier. He was a really solid rival. Okay, Hop. Yeah, we'll do Hop. Hop is up next. I had him next on my list. Hop sits in a similar boat as How and Wally, where you were always just one step ahead of him. You know, he always lost to Bead, never beat him, he could never beat us. I feel like these later rivals, the early gen rivals are great, seeing as both Blue and Silver are sitting in S tier. And some of the later game rivals, just, I don't know, they lost their attitude, they lost what I found them to be fun, or, they just lost that spark. I don't know if it's because I got older or because they just made the games easier, but Hop sits in the C tier. Now, Bead, although Bead was a stronger rival than Hop, I just never really liked Bead as a character. There's just something about his attitude, like they tried to bring back that cockiness that they had with both Silver and Blue. And I feel like they just missed it. They made him too much of a villain. And then in the end, you pacify him, if, that's the right word to use. I just didn't like Bead. There's something about Bead that I didn't like. And that leads us to the final character on this list, Marnie. Now, Marnie for me sits in the S tier. And here's the reason why. Team Yell was probably my favorite bad guys in any of the Pokemon games. Just given the fact that they were there being a nuisance, rooting on the girl from their hometown, Marnie. And because of that, Marnie was like the de facto leader of Team Yell, at least in my eyes. Because if she wanted them to stop doing things, she'd say it and they'd listen to her. I really liked Marnie as a rival. So Marnie, for me, sits in the S tier, along with, Blue and Silver. But yeah, guys, that is my tier list for the rivals. Let me know in the comments down below who your favorite rival in any of the Pokemon games are. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for my brand new randomized Nuzlocke I will be doing. But yeah, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!